Welcome back to the Andrew and Ian Show. I'm Andrew Herrick here again with Ian. Hi, Ian. It is divisional round weekend, and we got our natty matchup to talk about as well. Uh, Lots to get into, but not really, just because there's only 5 games. But we could go into a little bit more detail with all these matchups, unlike during the regular season. Anyways, how you doing this evening, man?
Cold, but that's about my only complaint. So, ready to get into this.
Yeah, no, I fucking feel you on that one. Although it was above freezing today, so like it actually felt warm outside because we've been in the single digits and below the last few days down here. But got up to 34 today, so it actually like literally felt warm outside. But anyways, we got our divisional round games in the NFL this weekend. We got two on Saturday, two on Sunday. Saturday, kicking it off at 4:30, we got the Chiefs hosting the Texans. The Chiefs, an 8-point favorite in this game. So, uh, looking into this game, I mean, we know the Chiefs are what they are. Really good, really good defensive team. Offensively, they've been kind of underwhelming this year. Now, yes, they are missing some weapons, but Patrick Mahomes still has been very below average for his standards all season long. So that has been kind of the talking point, right? Is this Chiefs offense? No one really believes in them, and very rarely do they score over 30 points. And when they play good defenses, they don't score. Very rarely do they go over 25 points, right? Um, Texans, on the other hand, realistically, the only way I think the Texans can go forward is they have to get a lot of turnovers. They were second in the league this year with 18 interceptions this year, so they're going to have to be ball hawks this week. And Mahomes this year has thrown some pretty bad interceptions, so it's very possible that can help them out. Um, they're going to also need help from that defensive front. Um, you know, maybe get Daniil Hunter going if he can force some fumbles as well. I feel like that could benefit the Texans and help them in this game. Ultimately, I think this game is going to be very close. I don't see Kansas City covering that 8-point spread. I feel like it's going to be lower scoring. Vegas certainly does with a 41.5 point total. I'm going to roll with Kansas City because, it's just the devil magic, right? Um, they need, they just get everything to go their way. It doesn't matter who they're playing. They could be having the worst game of their lives and still win just simply because they can. And it's just voodoo at this point. Um, I think if the Texans want to win, obviously we talked about it, they need to force turnovers, whether that's coming from the defensive front stripping the ball out on the runs or getting that secondary going and getting some picks off of Patrick Mahomes, which is possible. But offensively, they're gonna need to be perfect. They're gonna need to hope that Mixon has a great game, and C.J. Stroud also has to have a great game. But that offensive line is beat up, and it's going to be a big struggle for the Texans in this game. I'm going to roll with the Chiefs to win. They don't cover that 8.
Yeah, Houston versus Kansas City, year two in a row, right? I mean, it's the second year in a row we've had both of these AFC playoff matchups, and I mean, it's not really much to say, is there? I mean, last year we saw what happened, and Houston, we had those questions going into the last game, and they played a very tough Chargers defense and handled them pretty well, I have to say. I was kind of concerned without Stephon Diggs and Tank Dell going into that game. So little, you know, tread lightly with this team, but they showed out. And I mean, hell, even getting in on a special teams play and just stupid plays and stupid like awareness of like football knowledge for those special teams play, especially running back an extra point when the kicker just swats the ball down after it, you know, gets blocked or whatever. That's a live ball. And just a stupid mistake by Dicker to just swat it down and kind of just let Houston run it back with it. But Houston did everything right outside of CJ Stroud, I believe, threw an interception in this game. Ultimately, they still won by 20 points. And against the Chargers defense that gave up the least amount of points in the league, you got to give them some credit there. And they put up 32 points on them. And that's going to be the key is you said the Chiefs rarely score 30 points. And they got close. I mean, they scored 29 against Pittsburgh. So they have some potential to score close to 30. And last time, these two even played in the regular season, and the Chiefs won 27-19. So I'm looking at shades of that, except I think Houston is gonna use that as more fuel for this one. I'm hoping there's not controversy, from the refs, and the Chiefs actually competently win a game. But I'm gonna roll with Kansas City because, like you said, Devil Magic exists, and it's Kansas City and Arrowhead in the playoffs. It's a tough ask. I don't think Kansas City covers at 8 because I think Houston is going to play this one really close.
Yeah, I think they will. And look, it is Arrowhead too, and Arrowhead is a tough place to play in. But maybe CJ Stroud can really pull off a miracle here. I mean, I'm certainly rooting for the Texans this week. I just don't think they're going to win it. Saturday night, Detroit hosting the Commanders. The Lions, a 9.5-point favorite in this game. Lions, according to ESPN's matchup predictor, a 73% chance to win this game. This is going to be a high-scoring game. Plain and simple, the Commanders have a really, really good offense, and Lions' defense is beat up. The Lions have a really, really good offense. The Commanders just have a ass defense. They are the third worst team against the run, and that's going to be huge because the Lions, what do they do best on offense? Run the ball. Jahmyr Gibbs is an elite running back. And, oh, by the way, David Montgomery is going to be playing. So the Lions getting him back in the run game is going to be huge. And the Commanders are going to have to stack the box. You know what happens when you stack the box against this team? Jared Goff is going to light you up on quick little dink and dunk passes, check down passes, and because it's just Ben Johnson and Jared Goff, they know exactly what to do. So it's going to be a tough game for Washington defensively to try and just figure out this Lions offense. Now, the Lions defense, we know, super beat up. They are getting some guys back very slowly. You're not going to get Carlton Davis back, but they did get Alex Anzalone back in Week 18, so that's going to be a huge bump to that defense. This is going to be a really, really high-scoring game regardless. I mean, the thing that I think the Lions have to focus on is containing Daniels. If you're able to control Daniels, if you're able to contain him, you maintain your rushing lanes. You don't run past him when you're rushing the pocket. When the pocket collapses, you're gonna do just fine. Rattle his cage a little bit. He did not look at all like a rookie in the playoffs last week against Tampa Bay, and I think you're gonna see that play continue. But if the Lions can just contain him, and like I said, not run past him when they're rushing him against this very bad offensive line, you can have success stopping this Commanders offense. I think the Lions win. I don't think they cover that 9.5. I think they get close, but I don't see this being a blowout game.
I kind of have to agree. I've been seeing a lot of Lions fans saying that they don't see the Lions winning by anything less than 10 points, and I think you got to give this Commanders team a little more credit than that. I mean, Dan Quinn, Jaden Daniels, it's going to be a lethal duo coming out of the NFC East for presumably the years to come. I mean, with the wide receiver like Terry McLaurin, they have the big play potential, and Jaden Daniels is a threat with his legs, and the Lions historically have been bad covering uh, mobile quarterbacks. At the end of the day, this is going to be a game that's reminiscent of last year's game against Tampa, where it's going to come down to one of the last drives, and either Jaden Daniels is going to throw an interception, or the Lions defense is going to need to make a stop, or something like that. And that's how this game's going to be won on either side. Now, Jaden Daniels has that poise, and obviously is not phased by winning his first playoff game in the NFL by a doinked field goal, just stone facing it. That's exactly what you want to see if you're a Washington fan. That's your franchise quarterback for years to come, and to have that poise that early in your career, it's a really good sign. And it would suck to really have that run end here, but I think it does. This Detroit team has that experience. They want that Super Bowl. They're sniffing it. They need to win 2 games, and this is step one. They're going to take it one game at a time, and I don't see the Lions blowing the Commanders out, but unfortunately, that is one of 2 outcomes I see this game going, and both of them, I think the Lions win. It's Lions are either going to win this one, making a stand in the last drive, or this one's over by the half and it's belt to ass, and we've seen that song and dance how many times with the Lions, and I don't
Five
think it's going to be that
times.
one.
5 times we've seen belt to ass this year by this Lions team. I just don't think it's going to happen. I don't think this game's going to be super close like you predict, or like you predicted on that second. I think it's going to be the Lions are going to stay touchdown, maybe 2 touchdowns ahead the entire game, sort of deal. I think this will be a lot of back and forth, and I don't see a lot of punting happening in this game. I see a lot of points being scored, and Vegas certainly thinks so with that 55.5 total. I am hammering the over on that one. I mean, realistically, both these teams could hit 55 points on their own, like because we know how good those offenses really truly are. Um, but yeah, it's going to be a very very interesting game, and yeah. Sunday we have the Eagles hosting the Rams. The Eagles a 6.5 point favorite in this game. Now, this is the one team I think outside of Detroit that can stop Philadelphia. This Rams offense is brutally lethal, especially if they can get uh, a a guy like Cooper Kupp going, and we know how good Nakua is. Kyron Williams is one of the better running backs in the league as well. Um, as far as the Rams defense goes, they can stop this Philly offense. I mean, stopping Saquon is one thing, but on the other hand, Jalen Hurts isn't that great of a quarterback. Um, he doesn't make a lot of bad throws, but if you can pressure him, force him into some mistakes, maybe get a turnover or two off of that, things will work out just fine. But this Philly defense is the best in terms of yardage allowed um, to an opposing offense, but this Rams offense is just so good, and they got hot at the right time this year, and we saw that last week against the Vikings. Um, they are just straight up cooking right now. Um, I think the Eagles will ultimately win this game. I don't think they cover that 6.5. I think it will come down to a it'll come down to a 2-minute drill. Um, but I also think the Rams could win this game. But again, if they do, it'll come down to a 2-minute drill sort of deal. Uh, this game's going to be really really close. I think regardless, um, I think it will be lower scoring just because I like the matchup that the Rams defense has with the Eagles offense, and then also the fact that the Eagles have the best defense in the NFL right now, and I don't think that's going to change. Although Nakobe Dean is out, so that's going to hurt them up the middle just a little bit when it comes to, um, you know, stopping the run. So that's going to hurt them. But either way, I think the Eagles will pull through, and they will go and play the Lions next week.
And now saying that the Rams are the only team outside of Detroit that can take down the Eagles is, I mean, I would disagree, but unfortunately, they're the only team that are playing the Eagles this week. And Washington, we saw beat Philly near the end of this regular season last couple weeks, and Washington went to Philly. I could see Washington beating Philly again, but it's LA. I do think that LA can do it, specifically because we saw what happened last week against Minnesota. Minnesota shit the bed hard, and you don't have a running back the quality of Saquon Barkley in Minnesota, but you don't have a receiver the quality of Justin Jefferson in Philadelphia. The problem with this is the Eagles' defense going to be able to make those plays? Darius Slay's been getting banged up and leaving games and getting checked out and coming back into games. So it's only a matter of time before he gives out at some point. And like you said, they lost Nakobe Dean, and that's a rough spot. You don't want to lose a player at any point in the playoffs or at any time in the regular season, but to lose a linebacker spot, we've seen what happens to teams when they start losing linebackers and they don't have, first, second, or even third stringers out there. The case in Detroit. It's a big problem when you have a quality linebacker out of the game. And that's going to be an issue, especially if they use him to drop into coverage. If you don't have someone who has that, mentality and that IQ, because that's a big thing for that linebacker spot is IQ and recognition. Matthew Stafford's a vet. This is going to come down to, can Jalen Hurts outpass Matthew Stafford? And can he win you the game with his arm? Saquon Barkley is going to get his, regardless of if the Rams give it to him or not. I think they have to hone in on Jalen Hurts and make him beat you with his arm, because if he can't, Saquon's going to do what he's going to do regardless. You don't have to waste your time and energy, trying to chase him down when he's already 40 yards past you down the field. Jalen Hurts, coming off the concussion second game, he was a little shaky. He threw 2 touchdowns. Yeah, sure. Still a little shaky. I'm not confident that he can beat you with his arm if it would come down to that at the end of the game. And I think LA has the chance to beat them. I'm also going to roll with Philly just because the Saquon Barkley factor. And I think that will wear down that Rams defense. And it sucks to say, I'd love to see LA play Detroit in the NFC Championship, just because how funny would it be? Lions beat Matthew Stafford to go to the Super Bowl. But I'm also kind of tired of the LA, Detroit matchup. Stafford playing Detroit. He'd be coming back to Detroit, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we get it. Get over it. I think the Rams lose this one, but I think they beat the points. I think they keep it pretty close.
Yeah, I think it's going to be close no matter what, and I completely agree. I think no matter what, you aren't going to stop Saquon. I mean, you can scheme to try and stop Saquon no matter what, but who knows? If they do, now you're forcing Jalen Hurts to beat you, and when you do that, you take away Saquon, and now you're forcing Jalen Hurts to beat you. That's where you can get yourself into trouble, and I think that is going to be critical for this Rams defense, but I just don't think they're going to stop Saquon, so yeah. And then Sunday evening, it's a 6:30 kickoff, which is a little odd, but anyways, the Bills will host the Ravens. The Ravens, a 1-point favorite in this game. It opened as a 1-point favorite for Buffalo, and now it's shifted all the way to a 1-point favorite for the Ravens. This is going to be a close game. I think this is going to be a really, really high scoring game, and yeah, I mean, there's not much to it there. Derrick Henry, if he goes for 100 yards in this game, and Lamar Jackson has, a good, solid game, the Ravens are going to win this game. Just because they're going to need to, one, just make sure that the ball stays in their hands to keep that ball out of Buffalo's hands and out of the hands of Josh Allen. Because if you keep giving Josh Allen the ball, it makes it very, very difficult to stop, especially with this Ravens secondary that isn't that good. It got better in the last few weeks of the season, but still not where you would want it to be. James Cook is obviously going to have a really, really good game as well for Buffalo. But Josh Allen, we know what he can do. Obviously, as Lions fans, we know what he can do. The way he was just able to torch our, granted, very beat-up defense. But here's the thing. And here's the thing I think it comes down to is Lamar Jackson, right? If he doesn't win this game, I think this has to be the year for the Ravens to win the Super Bowl. And if they lose this game, I don't think it's ever going to happen for this Ravens team with Lamar Jackson, because if he keeps choking in these playoffs, in big games, kind of starts to stick with you. Like, okay, can this guy actually get me where I need to go in the playoffs? But Josh Allen, we know, is also a perennial choker. Granted, it's only to the Chiefs. But, look, this game is going to be really, really exciting to watch. Buffalo's defense, I think, has the edge in this game. And so I think that is why I'm rolling with the Bills to win. I think just that defense can get a stop or two. You're going to fucking win this game. I think it's going to be like the Lions-Commanders game, where it's just going to be back and forth on offenses scoring, and you're not going to see a lot of punts in this game. Hammering that over at 51.5. I mean, you'd be insane not to. With two of the best offenses in the AFC and in the entire league. But yeah, I'm rolling with Josh Allen and the Bills to get it done, and they will play Kansas City next week.
And that's the biggest question in this one is Josh Allen going to choke against someone other than the Chiefs? Or is Lamar going to continue that unfortunate streak in the playoffs? I'd like to see him win in the playoffs. I really would. Unfortunately, he has to play, another Superman in Josh Allen. And I think this is going to come down to, yes, the Ravens don't have Zay Flowers still. Rashad Bateman's doing pretty well in his spot, and they still have Mark Andrews. The difference in my mind right now is who is better between James Cook and Derrick Henry. We both know Lamar and Josh Allen are going to ball out, barring, a standard Lamar playoff appearance, and he chokes. The key for the Ravens, if Derrick Henry rushes for 100 yards, you're more than likely going to win that game. I don't know if they actually lost a game where he rushed for 100 yards.
Yeah, no, they are undefeated with him rushing for 100 yards or more, and they're 2-5. So they're 10-0 with him rushing for 100 yards, and they're 2-5 rushing for less than 100 yards a game.
There you go. Derrick Henry, run for 100 yards, Ravens, you win the game. And even if Lamar throws 2 picks and the Ravens still win this game, because Derrick Henry ran for 100 yards, no one's going to talk about Lamar throwing 2 picks. It's going to be, yeah, they won that game, and they overcame Lamar throwing 2 picks. That's still something you want to see, and maybe not in a playoff game, but to overcome that type of adversity against a Super Bowl contender in the Bills, that'd be really nice to see. I'm going to roll with Baltimore here. I think Derrick Henry is the difference. And like I said, I don't think Lamar is going to be the standard Lamar. I think we may see 2, maybe 3 touchdown passes out of him, but if you get 3, I think you get a pick. So at the end of the day, I don't think Lamar is going to outduel Josh Allen. I don't think Josh Allen's going to, outright outduel Lamar either. It's I think it comes down to whose defense is going to step up, make the play to provide that other quarterback that opportunity. And this could go into overtime. I'd love to see it go into overtime, but, shitty overtime rules for the NFL, really frustrating. So you'd like to see
Well, in the playoffs, both teams get a chance with the ball.
they did make that change?
Yeah, they made that change last year.
Okay,
So now you want
it
the ball.
wouldn't be that bad.
Now you want the ball second in overtime in the playoffs.
Because, yeah, if you get a stop, you just kick a game-winning field goal. And,
Or if
yeah,
you
that's,
force, or if they kick a field goal, you have to score a touchdown.
yep. Or if you first
Or
force a
or
turnover, that's just
actually, well, realistically, you don't even have to score a touchdown. You just have to score or kick a field goal, and then hope that your defense can get a stop and not let them score points, and then get yourself down the field and score. But just do what Kansas City did in the fucking Super Bowl last year, and just go and score a touchdown no matter what. Plain and simple.
right. So, and this is going to be a fun game to watch. And as someone who's not a fan of either of these teams, I'm going to be rooting for both of them. I want to see Lamar beat the monkey on his back, but at the same time, I want to see the Bills beat that 0-4 Super Bowl hump. So, dealer's choice, but I'm going to roll with Baltimore. I think they have the slight edge in this one.
I think we all can agree America wants the Bills versus Detroit in the Super Bowl. Like I think everyone outside of fans in the division of those two teams, America wants a Bills versus Lions Super Bowl.
Say anyone not in Kansas City
Right.
wants a Bills Lions Super Bowl or Baltimore.
Yes.
But again, I agree. Baltimore does have a case.
They certainly do. But I personally I want the Bills versus Lions. I want the rematch against the Bills, but I wouldn't also mind seeing the Lions kick the shit out of the Chiefs. So I'm kind of conflicted there. But anyways, so that's gonna wrap us up on the NFL. Monday night we get our natty. Number 7 Notre Dame is the home team against number 8 Ohio State down in Atlanta at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Ohio State comes into this as an 8-point favorite. Ohio State opened this week as a 9.5-point favorite. It's now dropped down to an 8-point favorite. As a Michigan fan, this is like my worst fucking nightmare ever, because these are the two teams I hate the most. I hate Ohio State more than I hate Notre Dame, but Notre Dame's a close second. So I'm gonna be, I have to say this, but go Irish. That's where my bias is on just who I'm rooting for is go Irish, right? But I think Ohio State's gonna win. I think Ohio State right now is playing the best football out of any team the last 2 months, really outside of the Michigan, or I shouldn't say the last 2 months, but the last month. They've been playing better football than Notre Dame, and they've been playing more consistently than Notre Dame as well. I think Notre Dame does have a chance in this game. I think they will cover that 8-point spread. I think Ohio State wins this by 4 or 5 points at the very most. What it's going to really, I think, come down to if Notre Dame wants to win this game is get Jeremiah Love the fucking football. He's going to have to make huge plays, and he's not playing at 100% either. He's playing with that knee brace, so he needs to be mindful of that. But if you can get him the ball and you can get him really, really going against this Ohio State defense, Ohio State's going to be up against it with this Notre Dame team. Will Howard, I think, is an overall better quarterback than Riley Leonard. He's a lot smarter with it. He takes bigger shots downfield. And, obviously, we know what the Buckeyes have at receiver. Jeremiah Smith is not a fucking human. Nabuka, he's really, really good. I mean, Ohio State is wide receiver U, quite frankly. It's either them or LSU. If you really, really look at the numbers over the last 10 years even, it's either you're coming from either Ohio State or LSU, right?
Yeah, I mean, 100%.
I mean, it just is what it is there. Um, the one thing I think is going to make a huge difference, though, one, Ohio State's receivers, but Will Howard is also, like I said, a much better quarterback. But also, Ohio State's defense is very, very underrated, and they're a lot bigger up front than what Notre Dame has on the offensive line. And quite frankly, Notre Dame on both offensive and defensive line, they're very undersized compared to a lot of other teams. Now, they took advantage of it. They used a lot of speed against Georgia, and that's how they got past Georgia. Same thing again in the Penn State game. They used their speed on the outside to pressure Drew Aller, and that helped a ton. But overall, I think just pound for pound, I think Ohio State is just the overall better team. And again, they're playing a hell of a lot better. Wide receivers are huge. And again, Ohio State's wide receiver U. Notre Dame, they don't really have any, name brand wide receivers out there. But if they can get Jeremiah Love going, Notre Dame will keep this one close. If they cannot get him going, which I think they can, because Ohio State's defense against the run isn't the greatest. Against the pass, they're great. But again, if you can get Jeremiah Love going, Notre Dame has a chance to win. But either way, I'm rolling with OSU. I don't think they cover that 8, though.
I'm not in a much better spot as a Sparty fan, but at least I don't really care about Notre Dame. But at the end of the day, you said it. Ohio State has been playing the best ball for probably the past month. I mean, they scored 42 on Tennessee, just dismantled Tennessee. Did the same to Oregon. They were up, what, 34-0 in the first half?
Yeah, 34-0 at halftime.
And the number one team in the country, the only undefeated team in the country left. Ridiculous. They go and they play Texas. Texas was supposed to beat Ohio State. Texas was supposed to be back in the national championship. They didn't do it. They lost by 14. This Ohio State team can play ball. Oh, they never played an elite defense until they played Texas. Okay, well, now that they play Texas and beat Texas by 14, Notre Dame's got a really good defense. I'm hearing the same shit. Oh, they didn't play a good elite defense. They did. They beat them by 14 because Jeremiah Smith exists. And you said he's not human. You also have the cheat codes at running back, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Junkins. Will Howard hasn't made. On the opposite side, Riley Leonard isn't that great of a quarterback. Jeremiah Love, he's probably the heart of that offense. So I'm not really confident in that Notre Dame offense. And
Well, you're not really competent either, but
well, yeah, that's besides the point. But I'm not confident in that Notre Dame offense to really keep up with Ohio State. Now, I'm sure the defense can make the plays to keep it closer than the numbers say, but I think Ohio State's going to win this one, and I don't think they're going to cover that spread, but I think they get damn close.
yeah, look, Riley Leonard is not that great of he's a great runner, but he ain't gonna make it far in the NFL. I mean, he's not declaring for the draft. He apparently has another year of eligibility, and he's gonna stay at Notre Dame, but he's got to develop much better as a passer if he wants to go anywhere in the NFL. But Also, too, Notre Dame just doesn't have any good wide receivers, so that is a big, big problem. But also, I think while Notre Dame's offense is undersized, or not offense, defense is undersized, um, they're not as undersized as Oregon's defense. So I think Notre Dame can put up a better fight than Oregon can, but or could. But either way, I just don't see how Notre Dame could realistically win this game just because everything that Ohio State does on offense, especially, is so good. Especially as of late, they have been phenomenal, and it's going to be a tough, tough game for Notre Dame. I'll be cheering like hell for them, though. I guarantee you that one. But because I cannot fathom Ohio State winning a natty after Michigan does. So I mean, I hate both of these teams with a burning passion, but um, you know, for you as a Sparty fan, it's probably not as bad because you don't really have that rivalry with Notre Dame. But if this was Michigan versus Ohio State, now what are you doing?
Uh, is tying a noose an acceptable answer?
That's how I feel about this game, honestly. Like,
Like, I don't know if
Jesus
that's like
Christ.
safe to say, but like, you know,
I
it's
mean,
about how I feel about that.
yeah, yeah, no, I get how that feels, uh, but yeah, it is not a good game. But anyways, one thing I just want to touch on because I just saw it go through. Um, Ovechkin, 20 goals now away from tying Wayne Gretzky's record. He had the overtime winner against Ottawa tonight to win it 1-0. So he's 21 goals away right now from holding that record all to himself, 20 goals from tying it. I mean, he's had an incredible season so far. To be out for 40 days with a broken leg and come back and start scoring goals like you at the same rate that you were before the injury, I mean, that's fucking impressive, right? I mean, he literally took the aging process and said, "Nah, dude, I ain't doing all that," and is still playing like he's still in his early 30s.
Yeah, I mean, Yarmir Yager, who? I mean,
Yeah,
we
I mean, realistically, if you look at the way Ovechkin's still producing, and you look at how long Yager played in the league, and the way he was still producing in his later years, I mean,
I mean, Yager was still playing hockey in Russia like 10 years after he retired from the NHL. So that
he's
man
still
was a
playing hockey. He's
machine.
still playing hockey right now.
They're gonna have to like take that man dead off a hockey rink. He's gonna play hockey till he dies. But we're witnessing the best goal scorer in modern hockey history. I mean, bar none. The Crosby Ovechkin debate is it's over. I mean, yeah, Crosby's a great player and all, but
I think, I
Ovechkin's the
think,
only
I
one
think,
chasing Gretzky.
right. And here's the thing. I think offensively, all round, Crosby's the better player, just because he is. I mean, yes, he is more of a playmaker than he is a goal scorer, but he's still a really good goal scorer. Obviously, Ovechkin a much better goal scorer than Crosby, just not so much as the playmaker type. But I think if we really want to look at all round, I think we're gonna have to give that edge to Ovechkin because by the time he retires, he's going to be top three in hits and will have the all-time goal scorer record. So I mean, there's that for you. Really, really good defensive player. But yeah, we are witnessing history, and we're going to always keep our eye on that chase for Gretzky's record and the all-time record for Ovechkin. But yeah, man, I mean, it is really cool to just be watching this historic run in person.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just cool to see. I mean, might not necessarily be a fan of Washington, but you get to witness history. That's like witnessing some of the stuff that we've seen in the past. Miguel Cabrera winning that Triple Crown, and that's someone who we saw personally play in Detroit. So, witnessing history like that, or the Wings winning back-to-back Stanley Cups or going to back-to-back Stanley Cups against Pittsburgh. So stuff like that. It's really nice to see. And then you have players like Shohei Ohtani who are, the next Babe Ruth. And you have players like this who are breaking records and are going to break records that haven't been touched and were thought, to be untouchable.
Yeah, and what's great about it too, and you see it on social media, is like all the Canadian fans are like, no, it has to stay, the record has to stay with a Canadian player. Well, womp womp, retard. Is not going to stay with a Canadian player for much longer. And also, Wayne Gretzky is also cheering him on, wanting him to break that record. So, I mean, what does that tell you about it, right?
I mean, they want to have something, right? They can't win a cup.
Well, they're never going to win a fucking cup again, but, I mean, we could get into the reasons why, but that would we'd be here all day, so I don't really want to do that. But no, I mean it's great witnessing this history and this run. And like I said, we're gonna keep our eyes on it. It's happening this year, one way or another.
100%.
In this calendar year,
this season or
the start of next
season.
season.
But yeah,
it's happening
this calendar year.
It is happening in 2025. Regardless, but I think he will get it done this season. At the rate he's going, he will get it done this season. Now the question is can he get to 900 this season as well? He's not on pace for it, but he's very, very close to it. I think he's on pace to finish the year with 898. So he'd just be 2 goals short of that, but 4 goals ahead of Gretzky on his current pace. So to end this year. So, but anyways, so that's gonna wrap us up Tuesday's episode. We're gonna talk obviously the national title game. I think we're gonna talk about that first, just because it is a championship game. And yes, obviously the NFL is more important, but I think just because it is a national championship, that probably takes a little bit more precedent over the NFL. But now obviously we'll talk NFL divisional round, and we'll get into all the nitty gritty of those games. So with that said, guys, rate, review, subscribe, help us out. Let us know what you guys want to see more of. Check out our YouTube page, The Andrew and Ian Show. Follow us on Twitter or X, whatever the fuck you want to call it, at The Andrew and Ian Show. Yeah, we're going to keep on growing this thing, guys. Thank you guys again so much for listening, and we will see you guys on Tuesday.